Welcome to the Page by Page Book Club. I'm your host, Paige and Brent, and I bring you weekly book club meetings wherever you get your podcasts. Y'all, I am so excited for today's episode because this is my very first ever Q&A episode. I asked you all on my Bookstagram story what questions you had for me to answer on the podcast, and here we are answering them on the podcast. And I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm a podcaster of the people. What can I say? I like to make sure my book club is happy. And so I'm really excited to dive into some of y'all's questions. I had no idea what to even expect for people asking questions today. And I had so many questions come through. So we're going to definitely have to do a part 2. But because there's so many questions, and with that being said, I think we just dive straight in. We're going to start with the first question that's coming to us from Juju's book. She asks, where is the most random or weirdest or most unexpected place I've read? Look, one thing about me is I'm going to read everywhere all the time. Between my Kindle app and like the 4 apps I use for my audiobooks, you best believe I will be reading almost at all times. It's actually like quite funny. And a lot of people are like, oh, you read 200 books a year? Like, there's no way. Hey, you would be shocked how much reading you get done when you replace scrolling with your Kindle app, which I know sounds silly, but that's what I try to do. Instead of opening a social media, I've been trying to open my Kindle instead and just read a few pages. And if you're going to come up in here talking about audiobooks not counting as reading, you can count your reading however you want. You're allowed to live your life however you want. But for me, in my book club, we count audiobooks as reading. And that's just that. And who cares? Who cares? Why do you care so much? Why are we so upset? Why can't we just let people do things the way they want to do them? The only person in this life that you can control is you. Live your life the way you want, not as a reflection of what you think other people will want, and you're going to be much happier. So for me, audiobooks count as reading. Last year, in case anyone's curious about the audiobook thing for me, I read like maybe 60% ebook, 40% audiobook. To be honest with you, I think this year that's going to flip. I have added so many elements to my page and print business between this podcast and my author business management services. I have way less time in the day to eyeball read. That's not to say I don't. I'm still going to come out with probably 100 books on ebook. So, I mean, that's going to be a great year, and the rest will be made up by audiobooks. Here's a little story time, a little bit about me though. So I will listen to an audiobook whenever I can. Whenever I'm trying to do other tasks, it just makes my life easier. So whether it be chores around the house, driving, doing like really mundane, repetitive data entry at work, and this is the story I want to share today. So I have OCD. Little lore drop. And it's not like what you see on TV with like the fascination and fixation with like cleanliness or germs or anything like that. Mine does not look that way. Anyone who has an OCD diagnosis will tell you it looks different for them. But I have like random worst case scenario things in my brain, and one of my recent worst case scenarios is that my romance audiobook is going to be blaring at my desk when I've walked away from my desk. So like use the restroom or go to a meeting or something like that. My biggest fear right now, and I'm literally like it eats me alive, is that I will leave my desk and my romance book will be playing out loud for the entire office to hear. When I say it out loud, it gives me a good laugh, but in the moment, it's so scary. So I'll like have to shut my laptop, make sure the volume's down, bring my phone with me, make sure my headphones are turned off. Like, it cracks me up because I'm like, what a wild ride it would be if my entire office heard my romance audiobook on full blast. So anywho, that's a little bit of a lore drop, but Julia, my answer to you is I don't have anywhere that's like jaw-dropping other than the fact that it's literally everywhere. I even like sometimes I'll ask my husband or my mom, it's like, would it be appropriate if I brought my Kindle? And they're like, no, it would not be appropriate. And I'm like, okay, I'll just bring my phone. I'll read on my phone. Okay, our next question comes from mar.bookstagram, and she asks, does Mr. Page and Print enjoy any books with you? And she had like a little blushing hand over mouth emoji. So if you're asking a spicy question, My mom listens to this and my grandmother listens to this. So, hi, Mom. Hi, Grandpage. Yes, I'm like a 7th generation Page. So, my grandmother's Grandpage. I'm assuming you're not asking that question and you're just asking about if he reads. So, for Christmas 2 years ago, Mr. Page and Print got me 6 coupons to read any book of my choosing throughout the year. Like, essentially one every other month. He read like 1.5 audiobooks, and it was not for him. Like, first one he read was Whispers of You. He liked it fine, but like, I think for him, he just like wasn't inspired to turn on the audiobook, you know? Like, it's just not, he loves music, and oftentimes the audiobook would replace his music time. And so he was like, like, I'd really like to listen to music. But he did read that one. He did enjoy it. He really liked Holt's character, which was fun. The second book I put him onto, and he got like halfway through and he was like, look, was Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. And he was like, it's not even the book. I just don't think reading's for me. And I'm like, that's totally fine. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, has he tried eyeball reading? He has. And I think he would be okay with me talking about this. Let me call him. And ask. Hold on. We're in the same house, mind you.
Yes, baby.
You're on the podcast right now.
Hello.
Is it okay if I talk about your eye condition on the podcast?
Sure.
Okay. That's all. I just didn't want to talk about it without asking you first. I'm about to answer your question, though, on the podcast.
Sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good. Love you.
Love you, bye.
Bye. Okay. I don't want to like talk about anything about him without getting his permission. He does have a like eye condition that makes it difficult. Like, it really, really hurts. Like, physically hurts. He's in a lot of pain. And by the end of the day, which is usually when he would have time to read, it's just like, it's really hard on him. So anyway, audiobooks would be ideal. With that being said, he is the most supportive person on the planet. And I know I talk about it all the time online, but I truly, truly believe Page and Print would not exist as like a platform, as a content creator, if it weren't for Mr. Page and Print. His support in the moments where I don't believe in myself, he believes in me. We have talked, though, when I reach a certain milestone of growth on my social media, he is going to read another book, and I have already decided that that book is going to be Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder. Such a phenomenal story. Love the romantic suspense, and he really enjoyed the romantic suspense in Whispers of You. But he's also very into bourbon, and let me tell you what, Victoria knows what she's talking about. In the Bourbon Boys series, my dad works closely with the bourbon business and is very well educated on bourbon himself. So is my husband. And so I am educated by proxy. My goodness, Victoria Wilder knows her bourbon. So that's really fun. I'm actually going to jump around a little bit because this next question kind of does a really good tie in. So this is an anonymous questioner. They would like to remain anonymous. They ask, you've mentioned in the past on your vlogs that you have experience singing and acting. I feel like Jake Shane, where it's like, you be knowing my stuff? Like, people watch that deep into my vlogs. But anyway, yes, that is true. Who would be your dream character to play in an adaptation of a book? What a question. And my top of dome, very first answer would always be Lainey Young from Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder. She is everything to me as a character, and I relate to her so very deeply. First of all, the Bourbon Boys series as any sort of on-screen adaptation would be unreal. Like, what a perfect world for TV and film. Yes, I absolutely love her. And guys, I received the single most incredible compliment of my entire lifetime this week on social media. I was talking about Bourbon and Lies, and a lovely commenter said, at first glance of the book cover, I thought she was you. Oh my god. I will never ever be over that compliment. If you have not seen the cover of Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder and see Lainey, sorry, I can't even get my words out. See Lainey and how drop dead gorgeous she is. And then for somebody to say that I even look, when you're squinting and I'm moving the book too fast, at first glance, I even remotely look like her. Oh, I'm deceased. The old Paige can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh my gosh. The best compliment of my entire life. I would die to play Lainey. I mean, that would just be the coolest thing ever. And then, of course, it's the usual suspects of Molly Luck from Cash by Jessica Peterson. Between her and Lainey, like, I just relate to their characters so deeply. And they all have, like, reddish hair, and my hair's reddish, which is fun. Fun fact, I am a religious subscriber to authors' Pinterest boards. I have aphantasia. I cannot visualize anything in my mind. I do not see a movie playing in my brain when I'm reading. I also do not have an internal monologue, so I do not hear the words in my head. I think that's why I've been on such an immersive reading kick lately, by the way. I cannot even believe that I have to explain this. I do still think. The amount of times people ask that is absolutely absurd. Yes, I still think. It's just not like I'm hearing myself in my own head. I love authors' Pinterest pages because then I can get in my brain exactly who they had in mind, what they had in mind when it comes to the setting and the characters and the worlds that they've created. So if you're an author and you do have a Pinterest board but you don't have it linked anywhere, I, just one single individual, am begging, please link it on your link tree or something. It would help me so much. It really, really helps. Say all of this to say, Jessica Peterson has really, really great Pinterest boards for her series. But Cash in particular, she has kind of like fan casted Riley Green as Cash, and Annie Murphy, who is, oh gosh, what is her name? Please hold. Alexis from Schitt's Creek. I didn't even finish the Google search. I pulled that out of the depths of my brain. Yes, Annie Murphy, who plays Alexis on Schitt's Creek, is from the Pinterest board who Jessica kind of has in mind for that character. It's like, okay, well, I'm not Annie Murphy, but I would just absolutely love to play that character. I love acting. I really, really do. It is so fun. I likely will not pursue a career in acting. Never say never, but like, I really, really don't foresee that for myself. The only time, like, I'm not going to go out and audition for roles, but if there ever were a movie adaptation of a book that I am just absolutely obsessed with, I would absolutely throw my name into the hat, because how freaking cool would that be? So anywho, my last one is, again, my frequent flyer, Eden Abbott from Whistleblower by Kay Cove. Again, what a cool movie TV adaptation that would be, and I love her gentleness. I love her character. Any of those three ladies, y'all know, are my faves. I love them, and I would die to play them in any capacity. How cool. Okay, but I do want to loop back because my husband submitted a question. So this question is from Mr. Page Imprint. So we were talking a lot about Wild Side by Elsie Silver, because it is, in fact, spoiler alert if you want to go in totally blind to the story, Reese in the story is a wrestler, and my husband grew up watching wrestling, and the like big wrestling event of the year is coming up. It's called WrestleMania, and so this is not an ad, but hey, WWE, if you want to pay me. There are a lot of like redemption stories in wrestling, and he and I were talking. So Mr. Page in Print asks, what is my favorite MMC comeback or redemption story? What a great question, honey. Man. So off the top of the dome, it has to be Joey Lynch from Boys of Tommen, Saving and Redeeming 6. I could probably do an entire episode on this, so I'm trying to find a way to be brief, but what Joey Lynch came back from and recovered from is so unbelievable. And if you listen to my FMC episode, which is probably to date one of my favorite episodes of all time, Aoife Malloy loving him the way she did, I think gave him the foundation to come back the way that he did. I think too, he was asking me this because one of my favorite tropes in an MMC is the reformed playboy trope, and in many of those cases, there is like a little bit of something to come back from, some trust to be earned. And so I really, really do love a reformed playboy story. I will cite Camden Teller Banksy from Stand and Defend, Callan Keane on Love Rose Lane, Samantha Young, Jackson Riley, Fall With Me, Becca Mack. I mean, those three guys are really, really great examples of comeback players. Guys who kind of thought they would never find love for themselves and did. So I really, really love those examples. They're all athletes too, which is kind of fun. 2 hockey players and a professional soccer football player, if you will. So thank you for the question, love. Oh, do you want a funny story about my husband? I know we've talked about him a lot already, but so he listened to his very first podcast episode last week. Yes, I know. He's so supportive, but he really is not big into podcasts. But he listened to one and he messaged me and was like, "Hey, you're pretty good at this." Yeah, thanks. No, yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Just cracked me up. Like, what did you think I was doing? Out here embarrassing you? Goodness gracious. Okay. Here we go. I'm going back. All right, we're switching gears entirely. Let me have some coffee first. A little peek behind the curtain. I tried to record this episode last night. This is my second attempt at this episode. And it was storming so severely, the thunder was picking up on my mic. And I was like, this is going to be an editing nightmare. So we're recording in the middle of the day, which I never do. But I'm drinking my iced latte right now. I need the energy. So hold on. Next question is from the Romantic Bosnian, and she asks my thoughts on the cheating trope. Miss Romantic Bosnian, the short of it is, no, I can't do it. I really, really, really struggle with this trope. In fact, this trope and a true love triangle where there is not a clear winner, I hate to say winner, but I can't come up with a better word, a clear ending MMC, I really struggle with both of these tropes, so much so that I avoid them almost entirely. They both hurt my heart so bad. They make me so sick and anxious, like truly. And I know it's just characters and I know it's just a book, but like, I'm gonna get sappy. I try to read with such a level of empathy because in many ways, reading for me is an opportunity to place myself in someone else's shoes and to learn about the people in my real life more by gaining a perspective from a book, right? And reading about how emotionally devastating cheating is, like in a love triangle, like when I read these, I am ill. It makes me so anxious, and my natural response to being anxious when I'm reading is to not continue, which I'm going to talk about this in a minute. I love spoilers. If I can get a spoiler and know what's coming next, especially with these kind of tropes, I have a way higher likelihood of making it through. But yeah, the cheating trope and love triangle is very, very, very difficult for me. I read to escape, and those tropes just, they put me in my head so much. However, and I mentioned this last episode, and I want to mention it again, I will never penalize an author if I go into a book knowing good and well I do not like a trope, and I chose to read it anyways. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say I know I'm about to read a book with a love triangle in it. I will either love the book, no problem, the author crushed it, I was prepped, everything was good, and I will proceed as normal. Or if I do not like the book, and the only reason I do not like the book is because of the trope I knew good and well I didn't like, I will not rate that book, because that's not fair. It was on the packaging. They made it very clear what the book is about, and I chose to read it anyways. And there are exceptions to every rule. Every trope can be written well. People keep telling me to read Magnolia Parks. I'm also under the impression that Magnolia Parks, like the whole series, is kind of a bit of the cheating trope. So I have put off reading that one. I'm sure it is done well, and based off of the people that I trust who love that series, I'm sure I would enjoy it. I'm just having a really, really hard time leading up to diving into that, knowing that it has something I don't love. So there are so many books out in the world. I try not to spend time reading ones I know I won't love, because there are so many that I know I will love, which is going to take us straight into a question from Life with J. Alexis asking my unpopular bookish opinions. And I do think what I just mentioned to some people is an unpopular bookish opinion. Yeah, I don't penalize authors for something that is a preference of mine. It's not their fault. It's not bad writing. And I do actually think that everything can be written well, but I do feel like that could in some ways be unpopular. So that is an unpopular bookish opinion of mine. Another one is I love spoilers. As I mentioned, even if the book's like not high angst, like yeah, tell me what's going to happen. No problem. I love knowing what's coming next. I love knowing what to anticipate. I also love going into books blind. Like, I love both experiences, but like, you won't catch me being upset about stumbling across a spoiler. I do understand why it's a big no-no, and I never participate in spoiling on purpose. But yeah, I am all about the spoilers. I'm too anxious. I like knowing what's coming. Another unpopular bookish opinion, I'm not a mood reader. And part of me thinks that it's just because like I don't necessarily have the luxury to be a mood reader at this time in my career. Just with the amount of advanced copies that I am reading or the amount of authors that I'm working with in my business, sometimes I have to read the books that are coming across my desk, Which, what a blessing, dude. What a blessing to have books coming into my inbox, what feels like almost daily. Like I am literally living the dream. This is my dream job. This is everything I could ever possibly want. And I have so much fun doing it. When I say I don't have the luxury of being a mood reader, like it's true just with the way that I run my reading, but also like I do not mind at all. If I know like what's next up on my schedule, I have a very, very detailed TBR. I know what's coming next, so I do my best to get into the mood for it. There are some like rare occasions specifically with like very, very high angst books or romanticy books. I have two in mind right now that I'm going to be reading advanced of here in the near future, and I will need to like prep for those, like just mentally, like get in the good spot for that so that I can approach those books in the way that they deserve to be approached. And look, I totally get mood readership, like absolutely. I absolutely understand it. I think I am just so type A, and I do think my OCD does play a factor into that. Sorry that this is kind of an OCD episode, but that's okay. Having the set schedule is very nice for me, so I feel as though that might be slightly unpopular, but my lovely friend Daniela, I'm not going to do her handle because it's her full name, and I don't want to blast you on the internet if that's not something you don't want, but she asks, books I would reread first if I lost all my memory of them. As I mentioned, I love spoilers. I love knowing what's coming next, so rereads are always fun for me. In fact, so I've only reread, I've reread In a Jam by Kate Canterbury. I have reread Indigo Ridge, Devaney Perry, and Bourbon and Lies by Victoria Wilder. This month, which will be, I'm recording this in April, I will be doing a reread of Heathen and Honeysuckle as well. So, 4 books, really, that I have ever reread, and the experiences on all of those were even better the second time because these are books that I absolutely adore, and I even picked up so much more on the rereads. So because I love spoilers, because I love knowing what's coming next, and because like I think on rereads I really do get an opportunity to come at these stories from a little bit more of a critical lens, like in the way I would in high school English class, where it's like I'm looking for those literary devices, I'm looking for that foreshadowing, those metaphors, those moments that are woven into the story that are often missed on a first pass or at the rate in which I consume my books. Because yes, I read a lot of books. I read for entertainment purposes. My primary purpose of reading is to be entertained. I am not a book critic. I am not a book reviewer. I, Paige and Print, am a book recommender. And there's a difference. There's a place for all of those people. I love following book critics. I love following book reviewers. And I have that in me. But I love just being entertained, not taking things so seriously, and getting to consume books and just have a silly, goofy time. That is how I like to consume my books. That is just me, my personal preference. I, Page and Print. My Goodreads is a little bit more critical, but also Page and Print, just as a platform, as a creator, as a person, I like being an author safe space. I work with authors and I just love my author friends, and I really, really like to create an environment where they feel they can always come always show up and always feel safe. They know that when they come to my page, when they come to my podcast, it will remain positive. So, like, I mean, for me, if I hear someone talking negatively about someone, when I'm with them, I'm like, oh, well, are they talking about me like that when I'm not here? And I don't want any authors to ever feel that way when they are on my page or listening to my podcast. So, it's that, and I work with authors. I have an author services business where I manage their businesses, and I'm in the back end, in the nitty gritty of their like data analytics and budgeting and leveraging their socials, and like some more, like, I like to call it, my clients are gonna giggle, I like to play chess in a world of people playing checkers. Like, I like to get really strategic, really intentional, and then really track the outcomes of that. So if I'm all up in an author's business, they don't need me being super critical of their actual work. Like, that's not my job either. So anyway, I have just decided I'm going to have a silly goofy time. I'm going to enjoy the books. I'm going to appreciate the books. And at this time in my career, I'm just going to be a recommender. So I have really, really lost the plot here. We're talking about rereads. Oh, I was saying on rereads, I pick up so much more from a critical perspective. So yes, that is true. So there's nothing that I feel as though at the moment I would want to like have wiped from my brain and have to re-experience for the first time, except for the Throne of Glass series. I read Throne of Glass completely and totally blind. I knew absolutely nothing. Not a single thing. And I think that experience was unreal. Like, what an experience. So, loved that. I know that's an incredibly unoriginal answer, but that's the only one off the top of my head where I'm like, oh my gosh, how unreal would that be? I think every other book that I would read, I am confident that I would pick up even more and have potentially even better experience on the second read than I did on the first. So, as I mentioned, I only have 4 books that I've ever reread, so you may be wondering, nobody asked, but I will answer, what are some other rereads that are on my horizon? I'm doing a reread of the Eden series with my childhood best friend. Hello, I know you're listening. Love you. Hope you had a good day. So that has been really fun. And then Pacific Shores, I am obviously in the midst of a potential reread coming up here in anticipation for the traditional release coming up, as well as for the final 2 books to be released later on this year in 2025. That's Sarah A. Bailey. Hidden Peak by Victoria Wilder is a Roman Empire book for me, and it is due for a reread. It is unreal. I mentioned I read Bourbon and Lies for a second time. I intend to do rereads on the rest of the Bourbon Boys series as they release on audio. If they release on audio, yeah. Everything about that series. So good. And then I plan on doing a yearly reread of In a Jam. Second book I ever read as a romance reader as an adult. King of Wrath was the first book. In a Jam was the second book. The Right Move was the third book. Yeah, what a lineup. But In a Jam in particular, I would consider my comfort read. I would consider, like, I crave to read that book because, wow. Why am I getting emotional? Hold on. Sorry. So funny how human emotions work. I crave that book. I crave the way that, oh my gosh, sorry, hold on. Whew, let me take a sip of my coffee. I do not want to cry. I love that story. I love Noah Barden. I love Shay. Like, their characters are just so beautiful to me. It stood the test of time in every way. It is the perfect summer read. I don't know why this is making me so emotional. Little cry break. Sometimes everyone needs a cry break. It reminds me why I fell in love with reading. People ask me all the time, like, do I get burnt out? And like, the short of it is yes, I do. I get burnt out from like the act of reading, specifically like just ebook Kindle reading, because oftentimes if I'm not like catching a few pages standing in line or in between meetings or whatever, my time to read is at night or on the weekends, and by the time I get to sit down and read, I'm so tired. And I hate that. Like, and I never want to resent my books. And so I try to not force myself to read in those moments because I don't want to feel that way. I had like over a 500-day Kindle reading streak and I lost it a few weeks ago, and like I was almost relieved, where it's just like, okay, like, it's okay to not read sometimes. This is probably really unrelatable. I'm sorry. There's a lot of like consumption pressure being a bookish content creator, I feel, where it's just like, and it's a choice, and I do get that, and it's like the fine balance of it's like, I love this. I love this job. This is the coolest job ever. Now, I think right now what's hard is like um I think right now what's hard is like working a 9 to 5 and then coming home and then working my job as page in print and then reading. Like, all of that together is just hard. So anyway, this will be my third July as a reader. I started reading in July of 23, and I intend to do my third read of In a Jam because it reminds me why I do this. So, sorry for the emotional interlude here. Let me pull it together a little bit better, and then we will continue on our journey. Daniela, thank you a lot for the question. I do adore you. You're the best. Your girl is just a little tired today. But I'm so happy to be here making a podcast, so don't get me wrong. Here we go. The next chunk of questions is all about the Page by Page Book Club. It's about this little podcast and people having questions about what's next. One of my very best friends, Kathleen from Kathleen's Corner, asks, when will I have my first guest? June. I will have my first episodes with guests in June. It'll be the first and second week. I have them booked. They're not filmed yet, but y'all are going to flip out because I am flipping out. The way in which I am flipping out is so crazy. It's not even funny. These are some of my very, very favorite people, my very, very favorite authors on the planet. So big reveals on that here to come. But just know for right now, I am kicking and screaming. So I have them booked. Kathleen is also going to be coming on an episode. I'm not exactly sure when that's going to be. It might be a mid-May episode. So Kathleen, you actually might be my first guest. Kathleen and I are going to do an episode entirely dedicated to reading for entertainment purposes. One thing about Kathleen and I is we can yap. So we're going to talk about reading for entertainment purposes, being more book recommenders, doing a whole episode on that. I'm really excited about that. And then I also have a third author guest set up, but that's going to be later on this summer for her release. So many very exciting things on the author interview front. I love interviewing. I love coming up with the questions. I'm really, really excited to bring you that side of the podcast, and that will be coming in June. So, next up is a question from Brittle Hearted Reader, and she asks, would I have other bookstagrammers on the podcast to yap with? Why, yes, I would. I absolutely plan on it. As I mentioned with Kathleen, my intention right now is to try to keep like 75% of the episodes like this, just me yapping. This is just for right now. Everything is subject to change. Nothing is set in stone. With the way my job works right now and like the hours that I'm able to film, I would just feel really, really horrible asking people to come on at the hours I'm needing to record right now, which like is the middle of the night. So, a lot of episodes will be just me, but I do have a few of my Bookstagram friends that I've chatted about coming onto the podcast and doing specific episodes on like tropes or series that I feel like they are just like absolute masters on, who have really, really thoughtful, intellectual, deep knowledge on some of these really, really incredible book series and tropes. So I've chatted to a few of my friends about that, but expect more guests to come starting this summer. And yeah, that's going to be very exciting. So this leads us into my final question regarding the podcast. My dear friend from Your Therapist Reads Smut asks me who my dream podcast guest is. Oh my gosh, what a question. I fear listing people because I do not want to leave anybody off, like ever, obviously. I do have a list like of my usual suspects of just books I yap about all the time, that just like I would die to interview, like truly die to interview. But this list is not exhaustive or all inclusive, but just like off the top of the dome, you know, Daphne Perry, Samantha Young, Catherine Cowles, Molly Goins, Sarah A. Bailey, Victoria Wilder, Maggie Gates, Kay Cove, Jessica Peterson, Lila Sage, Liz Tomford, who I think her last name's actually Tomfordy. I need to like research that if I'm ever going to interview her, but I think we're saying it wrong. Paisley Hope, Sloane St. James, Elsie Silver, Lena Hendricks, Erin McKenzie, Alex Taylor. I know I'm missing people. Like, I do. I know I'm missing people, but those are some of my frequent flyers. I think people I talk about all the time. I love their books. I love their writing. I think they're lovely people. You know, all 20 of those that I just listed, to name a few. That would just be really, really neat. I am hoping to have Mr. Page Imprint on an episode in the future. Probably a Q&A episode like this one, but advertised as an episode with him. I think that would be super fun. I want to have my childhood best friend on who got me into reading in the first place. I think her perspective is so unique. She is such a wealth of knowledge on books in general and the history of BookTube and the bookish online space. She's just been in this space for so long. Not as a creator, but as a consumer. And we've talked about whenever she's in town doing an episode on that. And again, like all these people, this is not all inclusive at all. I am probably forgetting people, which if you're like, what about me? Yes, you. Email me. Like, just email me. This list is not exhaustive. I try really, really hard not to do lists of like actual people because I'm like, I don't want to leave anyone out. Those are just some people that I think would be really, really fun to interview. Okay. Another person asks, my overrated, underrated, and perfectly rated books by specific authors. So again, I only do positive content. I only do recommendations. I don't do any negative things, which I do kind of feel like overhyped books lean towards negative. So I will do my perfectly appropriately hyped books from some of my frequent flyer authors, and then I will do some underrated books from them. So we'll do perfectly hyped and underhyped rapid fire for some of my favorite authors. Cool. Molly Goins, I will say, despite it all, perfectly hyped. Oh, it is. Yeah, it's that good. And Bring It All, which is the book before that in the Asher Creek series, needs more love. Get on it now. Victoria Wilder, Bourbon and Lies, perfectly hype. Her series before Bourbon and Lies, the Rakes Family series, read it now, but specifically underhyped Hide and Peak. Book 2 in that series. If you like Bourbon and Lies, you will like Hide and Peak. I think both FMCs are in witness protection. Both MMCs are grumpy, kind of like shyer characters. Yeah. Sarah A. Bailey, Heathen and Honeysuckle, obviously. Perfectly, beautifully hyped. Yes, 5 stars, no notes. Underhyped, The Fate Philosophy. Yeah, I'm talking about it again on another podcast episode. It is so good. I don't know what more I can say. Catherine Cowles. Perfectly hyped. Fragile Sanctuary, her Sparrow Fall series that's currently releasing right now. Yes. Perfect. Underhyped. The Tattered and Torn series, specifically the last book, Fractured Sky, ripped my heart open. Unreal. And having read that after reading the whole series, because it's about the daughter of this family who ended up being kidnapped and she was returned and everything's, whatever. But you get throughout this whole series how her kidnapping affected the entire family. And then now you're reading her story. Unreal. Yes. Devaney Perry, the entire Eden series, appropriately hyped. If not, underhyped. It needs to be screamed about from the rooftops. I'm going to go to downtown Nashville right now and scream about the Edens by Devaney Perry. But it's not underhyped because it's brand new. But Merit, the 4th book in the Treasure State Wildcat series, that book changed me forever. And not enough people are yelling about it. It's that good. And then Samantha Young on Dublin Street, I think would likely be her most popular series. And it is so good. Contemporary romance set in Edinburgh. But underhyped. Any of her romantic suspense. Like, everyone needs to be screaming about Samantha Young. If I had to pick one, I think I would pick Northern Twilight, book 5 in the Highland series. Second chance romance perfection, in my opinion. So love that. Okay. Speaking of Samantha Young, from my lovely friend Kate from Kate's Book Nook is currently reading the Adair family series by Samantha Young and asked me if I could marry any of the Adair men, Mac included, because he's the only non-Adair MMC in that series. Who would it be? So back about a year ago, I did a virtual book club with some of my Bookstagram online friends, and we did a PowerPoint night, and the PowerPoint I brought was my book husbands. These are not book boyfriends, these are book husbands. And Mac was actually on that list. But over the past year, I have become a Lachlan Adair girl. He's a retired actor. He owns a castle. I mean, Yeah, it's gonna have to be Lachlan, I think so. Okay, we're getting to the end here, I promise. Somebody asked, and this was the question. This was it. Zodiac Academy ? I'm assuming the question is like what my opinion is of the series. My opinion is that I'm afraid. I'm afraid and I have not read it yet. I am so frightened by that series. Oh, I know it's going to hurt my feelings. I know it's going to suck me in. I know that it is just, I have not read it yet. Yes, I do plan on reading it. No, I don't know when. I am so afraid. That and Magnolia Parks. I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know. I know I need to, but I don't know. Last question. Emily asks, if I love The Nanny by Lana Ferguson, what should I read next? I have not read The Nanny by Lana Ferguson. And I know that is wild, but I have not yet. But I can recommend you some of my favorite nanny romances if that works for you. So a few of my favorite nanny books are, I have them written down. Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher, Billionaire, Single Dad, So Grumpy. The conflict between the two of them is very early in the book, so I like the cadence of that one. There With You, which is the second book in the Adair family series. Age Gap, Widower, love it. Chase Our Forever Cat Singleton, he's also a widower. Small Town, the vibes are perfection. Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage, Heartless by Elsie Silver. I mean, all really, really fun nanny romance books. And then an anticipated romance book for me, nanny romance book, it's going to be Coach Me by Molly Goins. I'm so ready to get the nanny trope from Molly. I just think it's going to be unreal. So very excited for that. That wraps up the questions for today. Y'all just got every version of me you possibly could. We cried, we laughed, we got real. Thank you for going on such a roller coaster with me on this episode. I think that'll wrap us up for the day. Let me know if you like the Q&A style, what your thoughts are. I really liked it. I love knowing what you all want to hear more about. So thank you to everyone who submitted questions. And if I didn't get to yours, we'll do it again. We certainly will do it again. All right. Well, thank you as always for spending your time with me, and I will see you in the next one.